gentlemen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, get ready. About Freeqo talks the news. I've been wanting to begin this for a while. I have not been all that awesome. I feel like I am able to literally breathe again. No, I do not think I start. You're watching right now. You're the one person who's watching right now. You were in something. It's something, ladies and gentlemen. It's something. My name is Paul. Gordon Paul. You call me Freeqo. I'm channeling my inner Freeqo to do the show. And Freeqo is all right. Let's see if we can. There we go. All right. So what I do is I'm going to press the record button when I'm about ready to actually begin the show. And then, my tie is low. Man, I got to fix this. You know, this is one of these zip ties. And I'm having a hard time keeping this zip tie puppy up. That ain't right, man. That ain't right. Talking about no zip ties not staying up. And they're talking about no tie yourself. Do you tie it yourself? Yeah, I was mixing Boomhauer and Hank. I did that. I like doing that. Try it one time. It's really nice. It feels good. All right. We're about ready to begin here. So I'm about ready to hit the record button and the background music. And then Freeqo will be with you momentarily. I'm Freeqo, by the way. Also called Paul Gordon Collier. But you're calling me Freeqo now. I am Freeqo. Hear me, freak. Or not. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freeqo.com's Freeqo Talks the News. That's me. I'm Freeqo. At least that's who I'm playing today. On today's Freeqo Talks the News for Monday, March 30th, we're going to be talking about, let's just get a little scan here. We're going to be talking Anthem gets a call from the DOJ about the FARAUD, Corona College consequences, Maduro's lost in space. We've got welcome to the Xinernet, and you know what? I'm not going to tell you anything more. There you go. That's your little sneak peek of what's about ready to happen here on Freeqo Talks the News. And this is me not freaking out about the news for you, the people. All right. Today's talk headlines, we have first story here. Anthem gets a call from the DOJ about that FARAUD. This is from Axios. So their headline is Justice Department sues Anthem alleging Medicare Advantage fraud. In an excerpt from the article here, the Department of Justice has sued Anthem, alleging that the health insurance company knowingly submitted inaccurate medical codes to the federal government from 2014 to 2018 as a way to get higher payments for its Medicare Advantage plans and turn, quote, a blind eye, unquote, to coding problems. And this is Axios' little editorial here, why it matters. This is one of the largest Medicare Advantage fraud lawsuits to date, and federal prosecutors believe they have more than enough evidence to claim that Anthem bilked millions of dollars from taxpayers. This could be big. So, I wonder if at some level, well, this probably happened before. They're probably on this way before Coronaville. So, this is something totally outside Coronaville, but relevant to right now. Let's see how well Anthem is behaving itself during Coronaville as well. Remember, the virus is alive. More on that later. Corona college consequences. Student want their money back. And this is from KOMO News. Their headline is, will colleges refund students for tuition, room and board, and other related expenses? And an excerpt from the article there. Across the country, college students are finishing their semester online from home, many unable to live in the dorms and eat the cafeteria meals they've already paid for. Now, the university has forced them off campus, and students have said, well, I paid 5 months of housing. I only lived there for 3 months. Do I get my money back for the final 2 months? So that's interesting. That's a little, I guess everything's unintended at this point. Or it's not, depending on what camp you're swimming in. Some camps ascribe to they see intention and design in everything, and some camps are like, no man, it's just random. It's randos, dude, randos. Somewhere in between is probably not the truth. It's probably completely outside these parameters altogether, if that's possible. Maduro is lost in space, and it's China's fault. I wrote that headline. I write. All I do for the headlines is I just write the headlines, nothing else. We're going to do some of my writing coming up. Don't worry. Freeqo's got you. Maduro is lost in space, and it's China's fault. From Fox, Illinois. Venezuela's only telecom satellite is lost in space. That's their headline. Now, come on. Whose headline's better? Come on. I'm going to do this a lot. Get used to it. Venezuela's only telecommunications satellite has veered off its orbit and stopped working, creating a logistical headache. Headline on the brain for the cash-strapped South American nation. The Chinese-built satellite, it's their fault. I'm just yanking, folks. Was launched among much fanfare in 2008 under the watch of former President Hugo Chavez, who said that the 6-ton machine, a 6-ton machine. I like the sound of that. 6-ton machine. Yeah. The 6-ton machine. Hey, wait, can I do it to the background music here? 6-ton machine. Machine. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Would help to construct 21st century socialism and contribute to Venezuela's independence and sovereignty. Who wrote this? Fox, Illinois. The Chinese-built satellite was launched among, I always say amongst, even though it's, I don't care, I don't know, I grew up and I just had that in my head and I never lost it. I'm not letting it go. The thing about languages, it's not set in stone. Eventually, amongst is going to be the accepted norm, once again, even if it's all because of Freeqo. So, amongst much fanfare in 2008 under the watch of that guy, Hugo, who said that the 6-ton machine would help to construct 21st. Now, there's no reason you have to put this in here. This is just a little bit. See, this is propaganda, is what this is. See, this is totally irrelevant to the story. All that's relevant is they have a satellite and it was lost in space. But let's add this little element here. I'm not defending socialists. I'm just defending journalism. And this is a straight news story. So anyway, I'm sorry. A little bit. I'm a little bit fatigued when it comes to this type of technique. And contribute to Venezuela's independence and sovereignty. What could you just tell me, oh man, this satellite was lost to space, everybody. Corona. And then we go on to the next story. Like I'm going to do right now. Welcome to the Xinernet, if China has its way. Now this is a featured story. So these stories, The first part up here, this is what I have written, and then I'll read from the excerpt down here. And we'll see how this goes. China's day of reckoning post-corona might be in the mail, but while we wait for that delivery, China pushes to take control of the internet in the name of decency and humanity. And of course, you can totally trust a country with the internet that has a social credit system which determines whether you're human or not. Yeah, that's pretty much what it does. That's how it works, folks. In order for anyone to have the degree of power that someone like Z has, and believe me, even far less than Z, you must have a clear delineation between the angels and the demons. And if you can do that on an app, dude, you got something. Dude, you got to give it to them. I mean, that is high skill. This is the nation state that has developed the concept of nation state far before the West did. This is a nation state that developed bureaucracy far before the West did. This is a nation state that they really honed the craft of statehood at highly authoritarian levels. They're very good at it. Very good at it. But their people, by the way, it's strange. Throughout their times, there've always been an undercurrent of folks, Chinese folks, that always bridled at the bit, or whatever the phrase is. You know, like, been more kind of consensualist type minded folks. Didn't really buy into all that stuff. Still don't. So, you know, don't broad swath like Chinese people when we're talking about China, because it's a really complex society with multiple factions, and I always wish the Chinese people well. I never wish ill on the nation state of China, just because I know it'll hurt hundreds upon millions of really awesome people. So I would like a virus that would just target the Z's of that country, whoever they really are. Just wipe them out, and you will see something amazeballs in China, because China is an amazing place. Awesome. Just fantastic. I'm both a China-phobe and a China-phile. So when it comes to culture, China-phile. When it comes to state, China-phobe. So socialism. Well, let's get back here to the article. So they're pushing for something called the new IP, which would be built upon their specs and allow for all the participating vassal states to apply the same type of total police state control over their citizens that China now enjoys. When I was a kid, I learned a trick early on when it came to get away with doing bad things. Normalize the bad things I might do, so that when I do them, no one will think they're that bad. So I advocated for the behaviors that I was guilty of, and I'm not going to tell you what they are. That's personal. It's personal, man. Freeqo don't have a private life, because he doesn't have a life. He doesn't exist. Except I am talking. Normalize your sins, and they're not sins anymore. This, I believe, is what China's doing, seeking to normalize the undemocratic ways of socialism with Chinese characteristics. Sort of like a nationalist version of socialism, don't you know? I'll let you try to connect those dots. In addition to the benefit of normalizing their sins, China hopes to normalize their use of market controls to dictate to the world the terms that favor China. And as nation states go, bravo to you. China. Like I said, China. Awesome. Awesome. These people know how to do certain things very well. Now, this is one of the things they do very well that I don't like. There's plenty of other things they do that are great. So, I mean, bravo. As far as nation statism goes, China's, as they say, playing 4D chess with checkers players. Sans the Donald, who might just be as 4D chessy as China. Now, he has a disadvantage to the Z, because China, when I'm talking about China, I'm really just talking about Chairman Z. Now, he's not called Chairman Z, but that's what I call him. Anyway, Chairman Z. He is China as far as the nation state goes. Everything is pinned around his very being. He is the, in essence, he is the linchpin between heaven and earth. It's part of the mandate of heaven. And Chairman Z, his very life and the way that is reflected, the way it is perceived, it goes to the heart of his power. And it's a very deistic form of state governance. Very deistic. Not quite deistic, but swims strongly in those seas, let's just say. And this is the backdrop that we're talking about now. He can muster the forces of China certainly at the highest, most visible levels pretty quickly. But bear in mind, Chairman Z, with all of his social controls and everything else, we don't really know what happened in China. But I can tell you this from all that I've seen. I've watched a lot of different YouTube videos from China, and I read a lot of things, and I track thousands of news stories a day just as a hobby. So from what I've seen, Chairman Z can't really control the Chinese. You just had a riot in Hubei, in which, am I saying that right? In which they overturned a cop car. This is a big thing in China. That's uncle. They call the police uncle. Well, it's a kind of a avuncular, well, you usually call older men uncle and older women aunt. But there's a certain, yeah, definitely uncle. They turned over uncle's police car. That's a big deal. Big deal. And China, they were able to trap some people and prevent them from getting out. But on the main, they weren't able to. And they did a lot of violent things to try and stop them. And they still couldn't stop them. At the end of the day, what was exposed in China is how little real power Chairman Z has. How any real power anyone has. If the whole of the land is ever decided to be indifferent to your threats, you're going to have a bad time. Donald Trump, Chairman Z, Putin, all of them, all the same. That's the truth. They all have known since they started to hobble people together in the name of serving the grand image of whatever people hope to be, which is essentially what we're talking about here. We're talking about that with the Donald as well. It's just that his consolidation of power is nowhere near what Chairman Z is experiencing. But I think that Donald understands Chairman Z and understands China's tactics. And say what you will about the guy. His God seed essentially is, that's what I call people's root preferences, core preferences, whatever you want to call it. I just call it a God seed. It's what makes you feel most like you are God. So his God seed essentially is to be the great economic genius that turned America into, once again, even better than before, way better than before, the world's economic superpower. He's not really as interested in military power, although to the degree to which he has to have strong military to ensure the economic power, that's his focus. But he's not interested in holding land. He's not interested in colonies. He's interested in America controlling the supply lanes and Americans living their best life now. Like, that will be for him the proof that he is God, not literally God. And I don't mean literally God when I say God seed. I mean metaphorical God. That sense that I am, the is, was, and always will be, and I encompass all. And, we all have those moments in our lives. And for Don, this is his root, and I think he's highly skilled in that area. He's not highly skilled in a lot of other areas. He's highly skilled at communications, even though he's highly unskilled at it. He is really great and really awful at the same time. He is a dichotomy. He's a walking dichotomy. You can hear him one moment, you're like, wow, that was like lucid, that was strong, that was concise, that showed such deep, profound understanding of what's going on. And then the next minute, he sounds like a teenage bully. You know? There it is. And you're like, oh, gosh. Everybody does that a lot. Oh, gosh. So, as nation states grow, again, bravo to China. They're doing what they're supposed to do. What every nation state is supposed to do. Win. Be the best. Be number one. Cut off all threats. Best way to cut off all threats is to be all. I mean, that's the ultimate way. You're like, you've got no borders because you own the whole world. You know, that's the way. You're like, yo, man, we're good. I mean, that's the ultimate end game. Trust me. If any nation state could ever do it, they would have done it by now. For the nation states playing along, well, I believe you might be called simps or cucks of nation statism if you go along with China's plan to continue to offer you a consummation so long as you pay, but has no intentions of removing their metaphorical panties for you. But sip away, world, America included, as China offers a billion consumers to foreign companies in exchange for full simp cuckery in defense of Chairman Z. Yeah, I'm going to use all the latest trend trash meme references I can during this show, because this is part of the thing that keeps me from totally freaking out. I just have to add that element, otherwise blood will shoot out of my head. Well, anyway, I'm gonna turn it down. So from Financial Times, their headline is China and Huawei propose reinvention of the internet. There's an excerpt from the article. Telecommunications group Huawei, together with state-owned companies China Unicom and China Telecom, and the country's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, have jointly proposed a new standard for network technology base called New IP at the United Nations International Telecommunications Union. The proposal has raised concerns among Western countries, including the United Kingdom, Sweden, and the United States, who believe the system would divide the global internet and give state-run internet service providers granular control over the use of the internet by citizens. It has won the support of Russia, and potentially of Saudi Arabia, according to Western ITU representatives. Now, there's another side to this. First off, there is the evil China side, and I'm going to stick with that. That's pretty much, don't let China lead you into anything right now. They are on a total different trajectory right now than most of the major nation states, and they're not any more or less bad than any other nation state, including the United States. Although, being a citizen of the United States and living in a land that's governed by the United States, surrounded by family members, friends, and neighbors and whatnot, and I'm totally on the United States side here. Like, I totally am not interested in helping China fulfill its fantasies. Not at all. I'm interested in very much not seeing that happen. So, from my personal perspective, I am vehemently opposed to anyone listening to anything this nation state says right now. You should really read Chairman Z. Read what he submitted in 2017 when everything changed in China, and it was a fundamental shift in which Chairman Z once again reinvoked the mandate of heaven and consolidated power and made all authority begin and end with him. He is a dictator, like the dude before him. Not a dictator. Basically, he's part of an oligarchy. The oligarchy ended, and it became a Z-archy. This is a Z-archy, and he has opinions and views which are very similar to fascists in a lot of ways. He even has China's basically, it's about well, it's at least 80% and maybe 90% Han Chinese. It has many other ethnicities, you call races, whatever, within them, and it is very, very, very much Han Chinese. This isn't to say all the. I'm speaking about Xi and his administration. They're very, very, very Han Chinese supremacists. You should read him. Check out his. Just Google it. It's just start you on your way, or DuckDuckGo it. No, DuckDuckGo it, or find another search engine. Look for chairman, or no, look for socialism with Chinese characteristics, and that'll unfold stuff for you. So I say no. Just say no to. Although, the other side of this, I do want to mention that is this: that what nation states are realizing is they really can't have any one nation be the dominant in controlling their internets. In the end, their internets have to be national. This is one of the things the United States is discovering. Think about what's going on Twitter right now, on YouTube right now. You are literally seeing nation states engaging in a ruthless war using the coronavirus. And Lord knows what the United States is doing that we don't know about. And I don't countenance anything. If I know of anything specifically that the United States is intentionally doing to hurt other nation states through Coronaville, I would not approve. But China is, by my assessment, I'm pretty certain that China has done some very deliberate things to intentionally impede the chances of other nation states to effectively fight against the coronavirus that came from China. You can call it the China virus. I don't really care to call it the China virus. I don't care to get apoplectic when people call it that either. But I think it should be called the wherever it came from, the Dubai or whatever virus. So, or just call it the coronavirus. Because, I know there's multiple coronaviruses, but this is the coronavirus 20. This is to me, is we are living in Coronaville. But China is proposing something which does have an appeal, and that nation states should probably consider. They just don't want to use China-led protocols. They don't want to let China be the leader of this. Matter of fact, they don't need. You can create internets with multiple protocols and have bridges that allow the protocols to exchange information with one another in effective ways. So you don't really need necessarily an overarching world protocol like you did before. I don't want to get into it, but there's a lot of opportunities there for very unique protocols to be able to communicate with other unique protocols in bridges, I guess you could say. Exchanges, where the protocols are converted to something that they might more easily recognize. But it's not. Well, anyway, never mind. It's complicated, and I don't even fully understand it, but it's complicated. So, we're going to do this. We're going to do these next two stories, and then we're going to take, let me just see here. Where are we at here? Yeah. So we're going to do these next two stories, and then we're going to take a little bit of a break. So this story is Nesting Dolls and Nanotubes, the Future of Nanoelectronics. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's a double nanotube! Okay, that was my weak attempt at using double rainbow moment from the internets of yesteryear as my opening salvo in a tale of discovery that's sure to get you excited about the future of nanotechnology. The Owls of Rice, or Rice University to your normies, have discovered the potential power of creating nested nanotubes, or like rushing nesting dolls. Tubes inside tubes inside tubes. Okay, but they're starting off with creating one nanotube with one nested tube within it. And the move could eliminate the loss of energy that occurs when negative and positive electrons jump all up on each other in that flow. And you don't want that because it messes stuff up. You lose stuff. That nested tube model keeps the negative and positives in their own flows, uninterrupted or diminished by all that jumping around. And this could potentially power up the effectiveness of nanoelectronics, including in solar power applications. Now, this is from phys.org, and this is their headline. Double-walled nanotubes have electro-optical advantages. I'm not saying that phys.org should get me to write their headlines for them, but phys.org should call me. Excellent. The Rice Lab of Materials theorist Boris Jakobson has now calculated the impact of curvature of semiconducting double-wall carbon nanotubes on their flexoelectric voltage, a measure of electrical imbalance between the nanotube's inner and outer walls. This affects how suitable nested nanotube pairs may be for nanoelectronics applications, especially photovoltaics. The novelty is that the inserted tube, the baby inside, Matryoshka, has all of its quantum energy levels shifted because of the voltage created by exterior nanotube, Jakobson said. The interplay of different curvatures, he said, causes a straddling to staggering band gap transition that takes place at an estimated critical diameter of about 2.4 nanometers. This is a huge advantage for solar cells, essentially a prerequisite for separating positive and negative charges to create a current, Jakobson said. When light is absorbed, an electron always jumps from the top of an occupied valence band, leaving a plus hole behind it, dang it, to the lowest state of empty conductance band. But in a staggered configuration, they happen to be in different tubes or layers, he said. The plus and minus get separated between the tubes and can flow away by generating current in a circuit. Dude, that's pretty awesome. See, stuff is happening still. Breakthroughs are happening. The technologies are, well, I believe the technologies are already here that we could have theoretically 5 or 6 years, well, no, I'll say 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we could have theoretically began the process of assuring that every neighborhood had a microfactory or microgrid. Every home had some form of independent alternative energy opportunities, home gardening, hydroponics, vertical farming, aquaponics, etc. That we could build the necessary well, I guess we could build the protections against things like this and coronavirus. Imagine if we lived in a world in which we had, microfactories where you have all these 3D printers. We're talking small, large, massive, but they're able to essentially. You need ventilators. Okay, if we have to, we can make every house. Everybody is going to have at least one ventilator in their room, in their house. All right? We're going to make that. Everybody, let's get together. Go. We can retool this shop. Okay, hold on. Like software? All right, here we go. I mean, it's not always that simple, but if you have a range of 3D printers, it could be almost that simple. I mean, we have the capacity to do this today. A quantum leap in boson fluidity. The next time you meet a particle, do not assume it's bosonality. I made up that word, although maybe it is a real word. I don't know. Bosons may very well have the capacity to offer the same characteristics at times as their opposite particle, fermions. And according to the universe, there's only 2 types of particles, bosons and fermions. So we're talking about limited choice here, folks. The new discovery by a crack team of Penn State researchers, my alma mater, so go Lions, may lead to new opportunities in the development of the great so-far unicorn to build cost-effective quantum computers. And this is from spiz.org. No, you took in that data the way I smacked it. All right, I'll take in theirs, and then you tell me. Researchers find a new way in which bosons behave like fermions. Sorry. Hold on. Science. Bosons and fermions, the two classes into which all particles from the subatomic to atomic themselves can be sorted, behave very differently under most circumstances. While identical bosons like to congregate, identical fermions tend to be antisocial. However, in one dimension, image particles that can only move on a line, bosons can become as standoffish as fermions, so that no two occupy the same position. Now, new research shows that the same thing, bosons acting like fermions, can happen with their velocities. The finding adds to our fundamental understanding of quantum systems and could inform the eventual development of quantum devices. That's freaky, man. I don't even know what that would lead to. You imagine if every human being had the most powerful computer with the most powerful AI within it, like just always at their beck and call. Like that, the ability of that machine to tune into you and to be a repository, an instant repository of those granular levels of data that we humans find a hard time holding on to, but helping you make connections, solve problems. I mean, it's coming. The singularity in the beginning is going to be like, it will be. There'll be an AI on your wrist. It'll be a wrist AI, your AI buddy that's there. And we'll literally be harmonizing with your biometrics, all that, letting you know all kinds of stuff. Yeah, but an externality, one that doesn't invade your sentient, your internal space. Not just yet. But the first step, that's what it could be. And by the way, I want that watch. I will freaking wear that. I'm all about that. All about that. All right, this is the halfway point of the show. And this show is going to be generally an hour show. It's going to be broadcast somewhere between 12:30 p.m. That's where I'm going to figure it. So, on that note, I'm going to get this puppy ready here for us to go back to right here. There we go. All right. So. You know what? I think I'm going to change the background music. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to fix that. I'm going to change a different background music, man. What we got going on here? All right, let's see if we can do this while we're in. This isn't the. We're still considered a still brick. You see behind the scenes of the vast empire that he builds with his own hands. All right. Oh, man. All right. I don't have all my best choices here, but. All right. Yeah. I'll turn that down, though, because that's kind of louder. Let's turn you down. Yeah. I'm gonna have to work around with the music. I think after the show, I'll work on that. Get the right music I want in here. All right. Let's get this ready. Okay. So we're gonna start off with a news poem. Every day I'm going to write a news poem. So I'm going to pick an article, and then I'm going to cover the article, and then I'm going to read my news poem. Now, I write in a kind of postmodern, surrealistic style, so don't expect like a lot of linearity to how I write. If you want to understand how I write, read Tristan Tzara. There you go. A Dadaist. I'm not a Dadaist, but strongly, I love the Dadaists. So I like to maintain some level of a Dadaist spirit in everything I do. So, all right, that's how we're going to start the show. But let me block this out, and then we're going to get ready because I'm going to hit the record button. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to, where is it, the introduction? You know what? I gotta get these things right. I don't have these things set up right either. So, all right, I'll just start it here. So, I'm gonna go to. All right, this is part 2 of Freeqo Talks the News for Monday, March 30th, 2020. In the age of Coronaville. In any age of Coronaville, we get this story. Very appropriate. Wow, what a surprise. What a coincidence. A story related to Coronaville? That's weird. So, for those listening to this years later, look up coronavirus. Well, hopefully you can Google Coronaville, because that should be what we should call this. But Google Coronaville 2020. You'll probably get this. So this is our news poem. What I do is I take an article, and then I create a news poem from it. And you'll get to love or hate or completely miss the news poem. The choice isn't yours. News poem. Locally made robots tend to Coronaville in Sri Lanka. A news poem. Did I say news poem enough? Because I will say it again. First the news, then the poem. The news poem. From newsazin.asia, indigenous robots to look after COVID-19 cases in Lincoln hospitals. I'm sorry, COVID-19 doesn't cut it for me. We can't accept that. I don't accept that. Excerpt. At the Hamagamaga Base Hospital near Colombo, indigenously manufactured robots called Autonomous Guided Vehicles, AGV, will be used to assist the treatment of persons suspected to have been infected by the COVID-19 Coronaville virus. The robots have been designed by the Sri Lankan company Atlas, a subsidiary of Hemas. It will now be possible to send medicines and other substances to the patient through these robots. Using the camera and speaker in the robot, it will now be possible to communicate with the patient without coming into close contact. And that's what it's all about, folks. Not coming in close contact. Now let's get to the poem. Singularity of I gotta read this right. I'm gonna read this right, man. singularity, virality, in situ. We articulate our mechanicals, drugs, masks, breathing machines. The robot loads the viral fatigue. Hands motions towards a mist of virality, hunting for air. We rest. The robots test. Injects the room with craft amidst the dying and the wheezing. My hand mounts the on switch as the mechanical delivers the bedside manner. Wheeze, wheeze, the wheels flatten the curve of the audible moans. We're not alone anymore. Our singularity, virality sings through the packed makeshift hospital halls, where the pores and the panicked are packed and processed by their local virus fighters, Daleks in boxes with pre-programmed hearts of gold. And then whenever you end a poem, you always wait and you get that dramatic silence. And this song ended right at the, it's like that. That was beautiful, man. Everyone, we had that was a singularity in and of itself, was it not? Nah. Nah, man. No. Nah. Let's just go on. Let's just go on with that. I apologize. So these are our talk briefs. And these are, all I'm doing is presenting their titles and excerpts as is. There's no other. These are just brief little stories for us to look at briefly. Hence the word brief. I'll try to be brief. Shut up. China's giant propaganda machine has turned its guns from Hong Kong protests to coronavirus. Scroll.in. Excerpt. As the coronavirus outbreak led to a lockdown of Wuhan, why couldn't I think of that earlier? I could not think of Wuhan. What the heck? I had this block. What the heck did I call it? Hubei? What the heck is wrong with you? Put a foot in your face. As the coronavirus outbreak led to a lockdown of Wuhan and its surrounding cities in late January, the Hong Kong posts were suddenly deleted. The account continued to post relentlessly in China, but it now focused on the burgeoning epidemic. About a month later, her Twitter profile began to change in other ways. The reference to her college disappeared, and her headshot was replaced by a generic photo of two people kissing. By the end of the week, her Twitter transformation was complete. Kalenke was now a Chinese propaganda posting zombie account belonging to someone purportedly named Kowloon Tang. I'm just going to let that. That's all part of that story earlier in the first half of the show with the whole China wants to be the new internet person. Essentially, that's essentially what they're proposing. The part of their first one idea is not bad. Nation states. I mean, if you want to continue playing the nation state game, and I think most of you do, so nothing I can do about that. So within those parameters, it is in the security interest of nation states to develop their own independent internets, and that's what China's offering with a lot of catches. They always got a lot of catches. These kind of guys that they lend you money, and next thing you know, they own your ports. That's happened to a number of nations in Africa. Yeah, China don't play. China don't play. As far as the colonizers go, China is like, yo man. Oh, that was cool what you did, Britain. That was like awesome. Yo man, you hold my beer. All right. Why crypto traders and miners might head to Portugal, Cointelegraph. Excerpt. Cryptocurrencies are legal in most countries, with Japan being a shining example of progressive legislation. In 2017, the Japanese government became the first country to recognize Bitcoin. I hate that. Just stop. Who wrote this? Progressive legislation. We gotta end that. That word progressive is tied with so many very authoritarian things. It's in the mouth of the progressive that you get the advocacy for hate speech laws. Okay? Now that word is permanently sullied. It should be, well, I won't say it should be stricken from the record. I don't believe in such thing. But for me, metaphorically, it should be stricken from the record in Minecraft. The Japanese government became the first country to recognize Bitcoin as a currency and to grant a... Okay, I don't really care. Whatever. fostering the growth of what was already one of the biggest Bitcoin. I'm sorry, I picked this excerpt. There are more examples of countries with crypto-friendly. Oh, here's the real important point here. I didn't need this first point. I apologize. This is the real relevant thing. There are more examples of countries with crypto-friendly regulations and tax policies, but not all pro-crypto countries have developed legal frameworks quite as favorable as Portugal has, especially when it comes to taxing retail traders. So it has to do with how they've declared, they don't declare cryptocurrency a property. So it has to do with, I don't know, it's complicated. I read the article and I still couldn't understand it. And if you go to Freeqo.com right now, at least on this day, you can get a link to the story that will give you more information. AI can help scientists find a COVID-19 vaccine from Wired. And here's the excerpt. In January, Google DeepMind introduced AlphaFold, a cutting-edge system that predicts the 3D structure of a protein based on its genetic sequence. In early March, the system was put to the test on COVID-19. DeepMind released protein structure predictions of several understudied proteins associated with that. I'm not going to read it. With the virus that caused COVID, would cause coronaville, to help the research community better understand coronaville. At the same time, researchers from the University of Texas at Austin fighting against coronaville and the National Institutes of Health also fighting against coronaville used a popular biology technique to create the first 3D atomic scale map of the part of the virus that attaches to and infects human cells, the spike protein. The team responsible for this critical breakthrough had spent years working on other coronaviruses, including the ones I mentioned. You read it. One of the predictions released by AlphaFold provided an accurate prediction for this spike structure. Another effort at the University of Washington's Institute for Protein Design also used computer models to develop 3D atomic scale models of viruses, spike protein, of the coronaville virus spike protein that closely matches those discovered in the UT Austin lab. And they're now building on this work by creating new proteins to neutralize coronavirus. In theory, these proteins would stick to the spike protein, preventing viral particles from infecting healthy cells. AI is being used a lot longer than y'all folks realize. And it's been used to do everything from sell you butter to package your politician and your ideology. AI is being used to tweak ideologies, I can assure you that. But that's another story. But in this case, it's good. This is one of the reasons why I feel like we won't have as many waves as they're predicting with coronaville, because I believe with our augmented intelligence and capacities to create complex simulacrums of the real, so that they can get reasonable assumptions about patterns that would take us maybe years to discover. We can, in essence, I don't know if we can fully rely on it just yet, but maybe after time we'll build up enough confidence in it. But in essence, you could be running clinical trials on virtual patients in virtual realities and having them play out in fractions of the time. And you could develop these models that could, in one day, I'm sure, will lead to, you see a virus and you could live out the whole of it across all of humanity in a virtual machine in less than an hour. And then it just bing! Okay, this is what will kill it. And you're done. It'll be like that. So, I mean, we're not anywhere near that yet, but we are getting those augmented simulacra now, thanks to the AIs and the quantums. The quantum stuff hasn't even fully come on board yet. There's a lot of issues there holding it back, but it's close and closer. But even without quantums, there's all kinds of other developments. Now, there does appear that they're
heading upon outside of the quantums. We're just calling them the quantums for the heck of it. We're coming upon some limitations as far as our development in computer processing. So there is some bottlenecks ahead. Pretty close. U.S. moves to block Taiwan firm from selling chips to Hawaii. This is from IT Wire. Excerpt: the United States appears to be moving ahead with new proposals to tighten the conditions for American semiconductor companies to do business with Chinese telecommunications equipment vendor Huawei, with cabinet officials agreeing at a meeting on Wednesday to tighten things up. The Wall Street Journal reported on Thursday that the new rule would mean that an export license would be needed if companies wanted to sell to Huawei many semiconductors that are proposed by chip manufacturing tools designed in the U.S. This would mean that the U.S. Commerce Department could limit the sales of chips made by Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company to Huawei for use in the Chinese company's high silicon chip designing unit. Reuters was first to report this last month. So there you have it. I think that speaks for itself. I don't really have much more to say about that one. NASA scientists find secret and decades-old Voyager 2 data about the giant Uranus. I'm sorry, the ice giant Uranus. It's just wrong. Could they just change that name already? Come on, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. I don't know. Is that Anglo-centric? I wonder if the Uranus problem is universal, if there are other languages. I don't know. I'll have to look up the etymology of the word anus. I'll get back to you on that. Maybe. The ice giant Uranus appears to be losing a bit of its atmosphere. And that's all I decided to put in. I have no idea why I did that. I apologize. That happens. So, let me click on the link for you. I'm not gonna leave you high and dry. I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna do that because that's my fault. I did that, and I'll fix it. I'll fix it, dudes. I'll fix it. So the ice giant Uranus appears to be losing a bit of its atmosphere to space, perhaps siphoned away by the planet's magnetic field. 8.5 years into its grand tour of the solar system, NASA's Voyager 2 spacecraft was ready for another encounter. Alrighty. Well, anyway, there you have it. So that's really it. This is all I really needed. That's all I really wanted to say. Boom. A little bit of a little teasy buddy for you. And then we get back to the real world. Well, that is the real world. Well, the real worlds. Or is it a world? What is world? Pluto's subsurface ocean may be old and deep. Real Clear Science. Excerpt. A suspected subsurface ocean on Pluto might be old and deep. That's what she said. I'm sorry. New analysis of images from NASA's New Horizons spacecraft suggests that the dwarf planet has had an underground ocean since shortly after Pluto formed 4.5 billion years ago. Pluto. You're always a planet to me. Can't you see? I'm sorry. I kind of, I did so many of those 9 planet sun things. Do not go gently into that good night, the 9 planet solar system people. Do not hold on obdurately. And now we get to this. And this is actually the last story. This is the dialectical. This is where I deal with a little bit more, probably stuff people don't want to think about or talk about because I'm that guy. Or I'm totally delusional and you guys are like, yeah, I totally like this subject, but the way you cover it is the problem. And then somebody comments and says, dude, you're old. Got him. And on that spirit, let's enter into our dialectical. I love this image here. So beautiful. I love this. I welcome this. I welcome the automation. Coronaville harmonizes man and machine and virtual. There are robots that have been patrolling the halls of our fine institutions around America, doing the hard slogging work of cleaning. This has been going on for a few years now, but now, with the advent of the age of Coronaville, social distancing and shelter in place has created opportunities for automation that will not be met with cries of, "But what about my jobs?" The robots are expanding their territory. Xinernet Disinfection Services is now pushing out a significant number of new robot cleaners that have been equipped with the power of super lights to kill Coronaville on the surface where they might be. There are travel agencies now offering virtual vacations, and folks are buying them. There are photographers that are creating virtual photo shoots for people remotely to experience. I wrote a poem the other day called "Virus is a Light." And in that poem, I was talking about the light the virus shows on who we really are to each other, who we really are to ourselves. But the virus is a light in another sense as well. A light on the technical reality matched with our assumed reality of what is and what could be. Coronaville is revealing the fat of our markets, which in this case is mostly about the reality that humans don't need to do nearly as many physically dangerous and draining work as they have up to now. It's also revealing that humans need not leave the safety and economic practicality of working from home in areas that currently we still insist on having people add, in some instances 2 to 3 or even more hours of drive time every day just to put themselves in a physical space that you do not need to occupy. Coronaville is hastening the more practical merging of tech reality with assumed reality, and the world will never be the same. What we are experiencing right now with this shutdown, this social distancing, is not the new normal. Humans fundamentally are social animals, and we will return to social face-to-face action. But we're going to experience, on the other side of Coronaville, a new normal, one that reduces our physical investment in work across multiple spheres, from outright replacing human labor to reducing physical requirements like driving to work every day. The dark times we are in indeed are dark and challenging, and people have been dying and will continue to die for some time. But at the end of Coronaville, there is a new opportunity, new hope, that we as a society will more pragmatically resolve the reality of tech with our perceived reality. And this is from the New York Times. This is their headline: "Bring in the robot cleaners, travel industry innovations for the pandemic." And here's the excerpt. "Light strike germ zapping robots. Already in use at more than 400 hospitals in the United States, according to their manufacturer, Xinernet Disinfection Services. Use xenon ultralight light pulses to kill viruses, bacteria, and fungi. Peer-reviewed studies published by the company have found the robots have decreased environmental infection rates between 50 and 100%. To provide our guests and clients with an additional level of well-being, we decided to add another step to our current disinfection protocol by implementing the germ-zapping UV light robots that also destroys you." No, it's just for the virus, everyone. It's like, oh, wait, never mind. Wrote Arshit Sangvi, the Vice President of Operations for Pearl University, the hotel's owner and operator, in an email. Okay. So this is where I will normally end the show. But I'm going to add another thing to this. Let me find it here if I can find it. I'm looking basically... So I didn't plan on doing this, but now I'm going to do this because I want to do this because I want to talk a little bit more about Coronaville, and I think that might be a good way if I use Oh man, where is it? You know what? Let's see this. I'm gonna search for Coronaville. You know what? I'm gonna stop it at this point. I'm gonna stop this. All right, then I'm gonna start it up again after I get to. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a little bonus. Really, the show's over. This is just bonus. But I decided I'm just going to do this now. I'm going to leave it live stream and be part of the live stream record too. Coronaville harmonizes man and machine and virtual. Whoop, this isn't the right one. Darn it. All right, false alarm. Screw you. Dude, where's my poem? Where's my poem? You know what? Never mind. This isn't going to happen, man. It isn't going to happen. Oh, I know what I know what. I'll look for the title of the poem. Why didn't I do that? I'll look for the title of the poem instead of Coronaville. See, there we go. There we go. All right. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Now we'll start. So this poem is called The Virus is a Light, Plague America 2020. This is such a lonely track on either side. Acid. The gloomy load, the phosphorus dangles across the balconies of flamed skies, as locusts grind the dust to something less than human. Less than human. The shape of the sky is the heart valve scissored and splayed across things that you know, things that you know, that you know, that you know, that you know. I know you, bone-faced, surprised with rouge. I know you. The angles walk under the ice where pockets of air desperately hold on. We are holding on, America. The doctors and the reporters are designed by the same tree. I spoke to my old lily soul, so-and-so. We bought doggy snacks in the case to keep that dang dog alive. We are alive. The spirit looms over the mask edge where danger meets daring, where twilight flickers across moving corpses delivering the songs of their people. We're all gonna die! They're all lying to us! There's nothing going on! The virus is the light. That's the thing. As I sat down to drag deeply on my comfort relief, smoke-filled debris cluttering my computer screen as I tapped and tapped and tapped like my words were the full force and fury of the all in that same song. How many times should it pass? That singularity stretch across weeks and months will voice to voice meet in solidarity with, remember that time? Time spread across routines and salt cells, like warm water dripping on piles of salt. Time crunched in bones, slathered in blood, like acetylene flattening a spike of ice. That light, though, the virus is the light. Kiss me. Kiss me all. Hug me. Warm me in your shared aerosols. After all, you only live once, and it's a YOLO way. The way of the YOLO. Land from whence Weasel comes. The land of YOLO with a light in its lungs. The virus is a light. We are holding on, though, America. Life's bone and blood is not too close to most. The wolves today are not at your door, but they got the scent, and it's only a matter of time. Or so they say. The they now losing the bank, the sweet cocoons of no worries, devoured by the first wave of locusts. There are plagues and there are plagues, and there are plagues from the plagues. Come the plagues. Come the plagues. Plague America and the virus line too soon come from the land of YOLO, where you discovered you weren't that committed to the YOLO after all. Shelled up and punching your fist in the pillow because you cannot even gather to mourn. But in the morning, in the light, the first new tells us the stories of the engines and machines, the levers and dials, the dialers, the levelers, the designers, the controllers, the editors. The Machina Deus assumed, but not found. And we don't like what we see, do you? Trades and machinations in the corpse of the few, the entangling into the useful for the few, with the CGI makeup of the illusion of the certainty of daily YOLO. Daily. We need that daily, son, because we can't experience indifference and lulls to the suffering of the sublime enough. And now machines with mouths in candy drawers and law chambers spit the songs of their people, which are not our people, the people of the land, the people outside the divine halls of the engineers and their enforcers. I tip my fedora to the ladies of this ruthless tribe because YOLO, but then light. The virus is a light. How did you find your house? How did your house find itself before the light? At war? At peace? The light will destroy the pretense of the CGI machine. The naked face, unstitched and uninjected, collapses in its own bed of bone, exposed as the virus itself. The virus, my friends, is a light, and we will destroy the light, but not unsee what the light has shown. All right. I think with that, I'm going to end this production, such as it is. I thank you all. I thank all of the huge amount of people who turned this on, kept tuned in, and loved everything about this, commented, shared their joyful stories of wonder and awe, successful extrapolation of the news forms which were unexpected. And with that, I bid you all